If you have these 7 signs, you're a quantum empath chosen one. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like the air was heavy, even before anyone said a word? Have you ever felt a sadness that didn't seem to belong to you, or heard someone laughing and suddenly felt joy rush through your veins like it was your own emotion? If you've experienced this, you're not broken, you're not too sensitive, you're not imagining things. You might be something far more rare, something ancient, something coded into your soul long before you were born. If you feel more, sense more, and carry emotional weight that others don't even notice, you may be a quantum empath chosen one. And if you are, it means something extraordinary. You are one of the few souls on this planet capable of navigating, decoding, and ultimately transmuting the emotional fields of entire realities. You are not just empathic, you are encoded to feel across time, space, and dimensions. But most people never realize this. They drown in the noise. They mistake their power for pain. And if they don't know the signs, they never awaken to the truth of who they are. So what are the signs? What are the unmistakable indicators that you are not just sensitive, but selected? The first is this: you absorb energy without effort. It's not something you try to do, it just happens. You can feel people before they speak. You sense dishonesty even when the words are convincing. You know when someone is hiding something, when energy in a space shifts, when someone is smiling but secretly breaking inside. And it's not mental, it's visceral. It hits you in the gut, in the chest, in the throat. Your body is your radar, and it's never wrong. But here's the catch. If no one ever teaches you how to process this, it can feel like a curse. You walk around absorbing everyone else's pain, confusion, and chaos, unsure what's yours and what's theirs. That's not weakness, that's quantum empathy. You're not just reading people, you're interfacing with their field. You're tapping into the undercurrents of their soul, sometimes before they do.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The second sign is that solitude is not optional for you, it's necessary. While others recharge through noise, distraction, and social interaction, you need space. You need silence. You need time to clear. Because when you're around others for too long, your system becomes overwhelmed. It's not social anxiety, it's energetic overload. You're processing the emotions of every person around you, plus the collective energy of the moment, plus your own inner world. That's not something most people ever feel, but you do. And it's because you're not operating on one level, you're operating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Your nervous system is like a multidimensional antenna, and if you don't honor your need for solitude, you burn out, you shut down. But when you finally claim your space, even for a few hours, something magical happens. You begin to remember. Your clarity returns. Your inner voice gets louder, not because it disappeared, but because the noise finally stopped long enough for you to hear it. The third sign is that people confide in you, often without knowing why. Strangers tell you their life story. Friends pour out their secrets. People feel disarmed around you, safe, seen. And you probably wondered, why do people always do this with me? The answer is simple. Your field is coded with safety. You don't just listen, you empathically hold. Your energy gives people permission to collapse their masks. That's not something you trained for. That's something you are. But here's the shadow side. Not everyone who comes to you is ready to rise. Some will drain you. Others will become dependent on your energy. The quantum empath must learn boundaries, energetic, emotional, spiritual. Because your gift is sacred, but if you give it to everyone without discernment, it becomes a burden. And your job is not to save everyone, your job is to activate those who are ready. The fourth sign is that you feel the future before it arrives. You don't just have intuition, you have precognition. You sense when things are about to shift. You feel timelines stretching or collapsing. You know when someone is about to leave your life, even before they do. You feel when an opportunity is coming or when something is off, even if everyone else is celebrating it. That's not paranoia, that's timeline sensitivity. You are tracking probability fields across dimensions. You are feeling future echoes ripple through the present moment, and when you trust it, when you act on it, you begin to navigate life like a mystic with a compass. But when you ignore it, you create friction. You delay your path. The quantum empath learns to trust the unseen, not because it's easy, but because it's accurate. And over time, you'll learn to trust these signals more than logic, because logic can be manipulated, but frequency never lies. The fifth sign is that your emotions are not linear. They are amplified. You don't just feel sadness, you feel soul-level despair. You don't just feel joy, you feel cosmic euphoria. And sometimes these emotions don't even make sense. They come in waves, out of nowhere. That's because you're not just processing your own feelings, you're processing the collective. You're tuned into the planetary grid. When the world grieves, you feel it in your bones. When the vibration of the earth shifts, your body reacts. Most people are disconnected from this level of sensitivity, but you're not. You are the sensitivity. And when you learn to ride these waves, not resist them, not judge them, but ride them, you begin to awaken your true power. You realize that your emotions are not weaknesses. They are data. They are signals. They are keys to your multidimensional nature. The sixth sign is that you've always felt different, like you didn't belong, like you were dropped into a world that doesn't quite understand you. You've questioned your role here, your purpose. Maybe you even wondered if something was wrong with you. But that feeling of not belonging, that's not dysfunction, that's design. You weren't meant to fit into the old world. You were meant to rebuild it. You were meant to see what others ignore, to feel what others suppress, to be what others forgot was possible. And that ache you carry, that longing for home, is not about a place. It's about a frequency. And once you connect with others like you, once you find your soul tribe, that ache begins to fade. Because you'll realize you were never alone. You were just early. And the loneliness? That was the space between the old world dying and the new one being born. The seventh and final sign is the most subtle, yet the most important. You've always known there's something more. Even in your darkest moments, even when you wanted to give up, there was a flicker, a whisper, a presence, something that kept you going. You couldn't explain it, but it was real. And that presence, it wasn't outside of you, it was you. The deeper you go within, the more you discover that your empathy is not just a skill, it's a remembrance, a reconnection with the divine part of you that never forgot how to feel truth. You're not here by accident. You're not here to suffer. You're here to awaken. Now let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What would your life look like if you stopped denying the full weight of your empathy and started wielding it like the sacred power it truly is? The nervous system of the cosmos, how quantum empaths are wired to feel the pulse of the universe. There's a reason why you've always felt things before they happened, why certain people leave you completely drained after a brief conversation, and why nature feels more like a companion than a background. It's because you, as a quantum empath chosen one, are not just emotionally sensitive. You are a node in the nervous system of the cosmos. You are wired into a multidimensional feedback loop that connects the individual with the infinite. Where others see coincidence, you feel pattern. Where others see emotion, you feel energetic truth. You are not reacting to the world. You are receiving transmissions from the quantum field. And the more you awaken, the more intensely you feel that pulse running through everything. It's not a metaphor. It's not imagination. It's the architecture of your design. Think about this for a moment. Every cell in your body is responding not only to your immediate environment, but also to unseen fluctuations in the energetic grid of the planet. That's why you experience sudden changes in mood, sensation, or clarity that seem to come from nowhere. Earthquakes, solar flares, planetary alignments, collective trauma events. You feel them, often before they're even reported. Your body becomes an instrument of cosmic reception. You're not just feeling emotion, you're translating frequency. You're receiving the raw data of the universe and interpreting it through your nervous system. That's why you've never resonated with surface-level living. That's why small talk exhausts you. That's why you crave depth like oxygen. Because you are not here to skim reality, you're here to decode it. And this is why your nervous system must be honored as sacred. For a quantum empath, burnout isn't just physical, it's existential. Overstimulation isn't just annoying, it's soul-disrupting. Your system is absorbing subtle energetic shifts that most people are completely blind to, and if you don't learn how to regulate your field, you'll constantly feel like you're drowning in invisible waves. That's why grounding is not just a spiritual suggestion, it's a biological necessity. The Earth isn't just a planet, it's your anchor. When you walk barefoot on soil, when you sit in stillness with trees, when you breathe with the rhythm of the ocean, you're not relaxing, you're recalibrating. You're syncing your field back to the original frequency of balance. That's how you stabilize the signal. That's how you stay online. But grounding alone isn't enough. You must also become intentional about what you're connected to, because the truth is, you're always plugged into something, whether consciously or unconsciously, and the Televeler quantum empaths know this. That's why they curate their environments like sacred temples. They don't just protect their peace, they engineer it. They know that every object in their space holds vibration. Every sound, every scent, every person, every digital interaction, it all carries frequency. And if you're not discerning, you'll begin to carry frequencies that aren't even yours. That's why you've felt disconnected in certain homes, anxious in certain cities, or drained after scrolling online. You're not crazy. You're just tuned in. And this deep tuning also explains why you've always felt a strange connection to the stars, why you've looked up at the night sky and felt this inexplicable longing, as if something ancient was calling you home. That's not fantasy, it's memory. Many quantum empaths carry galactic blueprints, origins that trace back to star systems far beyond this planet. You came here not to escape Earth, but to anchor new frequencies into it. You're not just here to feel the pain of the world. You're here to transmute it. You're here to bridge heaven and earth, to act as a conduit between realms, to feel the pain of the collective and send back waves of healing through your own inner alchemy. That's why your path has felt so heavy at times, because you are carrying more than your own story. But here's where it becomes powerful. Once you learn to consciously transmit, everything changes. You're no longer just absorbing, you're emitting. You're no longer just reacting, you're orchestrating. You begin to use your breath, your thoughts, your stillness, your voice as tools of frequency transmission. You walk into a chaotic room and bring calm, not by doing anything, but by being coherent. You hold space for others without losing yourself. You feel the wound underneath the words, and instead of taking it on, you send back resonance. That's the mark of a master empath. Not one who absorbs, but one who transforms. And the deeper truth is this: the universe needs you now more than ever. The collective field is in flux. Old paradigms are collapsing. Emotional repression is no longer sustainable. People are awakening at rapid speed, and they don't know how to handle what they're feeling. That's why you're here, to be the nervous system that can handle more, to be the translator of the ineffable, to be the calm in the chaos, the tuning fork in the static, the pulse that reminds others what truth feels like. So ask yourself now, not just with your mind, but with your whole body, what would it mean to live as if your nervous system was a sacred conduit of cosmic intelligence? What would shift if you stopped resisting your sensitivity and started honoring it as your superpower? Because this is not about surviving your sensitivity anymore. It's about activating through it the empath's superpower. How to regulate frequency, speak to energy, and alter reality on command. Once we recognize that we are not simply reacting to life, but actively shaping it through our frequency, everything begins to rearrange. The illusion that we are at the mercy of the world collapses. The truth is revealed. We are transmitters. We are conductors. And for those of us who carry the Quantum Empath blueprint, we are not just feeling the energy of others, we are speaking to it, influencing it, and in some cases, completely rewriting it. This is what makes the Quantum Empath a force overlooked by the world and yet central to the evolution of consciousness. We're not just here to survive emotional overload or manage sensitivity with coping tools. We're here to master frequency, to regulate our inner state so precisely that our very presence becomes a tuning fork for reality itself. The first step to this mastery is understanding that energy speaks in resonance, not words. You don't have to say anything to shift a room. You just have to be the frequency that the room is missing. If the space is anxious and you are grounded, you instantly begin to recalibrate the field. Not because you're trying, but because coherence is contagious. This is the empath's hidden superpower, the ability to regulate reality by regulating the self. When you are calm in the midst of chaos, your nervous system becomes a signal of safety. When you feel love in the presence of fear, your heart becomes a transmitter of truth. And when you choose clarity in the fog of confusion, you become a lighthouse to those lost in their own storm. But to do this consistently, you must become skilled in energetic hygiene. You must learn how to clear, shield, and elevate your field daily. not just when you feel overwhelmed. Just as you wouldn't leave your house without brushing your teeth, you can't afford to walk into the energetic battlefield of the world without preparing your field. That means starting your day with intention, with breath work, with silence, with visualizations that remind your system who it truly is. You must speak to your own energy like a friend, like a guardian, like a living system that deserves reverence. Because it is. Your energy field is not passive, it's responsive. And when you treat it with respect, it begins to offer you information, protection, and power that most people never access. And here's where it gets even more advanced. When you begin to direct energy, not just read it, you felt the emotions of others, the density of environments, the pull of timelines. But what if you could shape them? What if you could walk into an environment and not only protect your field, but upgrade the whole space? You do this not through control, but through presence, through becoming so internally aligned that distortion cannot anchor itself in your field. And when it tries, you don't fight it, you transmute it. This is not about confrontation, it's about frequency leadership. It's about standing so deeply in your own resonance that anything not aligned begins to fall away, dissolve, or evolve. One of the most profound things you can do as a quantum empath is to stop asking, "What am I feeling?" and start asking, "What frequency do I choose to hold?" Because in that question you reclaim your power. You stop being a sponge and become a source. You stop absorbing and start emitting. And that is when reality starts to bend. People begin to treat you differently, not because you told them to, but because your field no longer allows anything less. Opportunities begin to flow, not because you chase them, but because your coherence magnetizes them. You become a walking shift in the matrix. And maybe the most beautiful part of it all is this: you don't need to convince anyone of your power. It's not something you have to argue or prove, because once you embody it, it speaks for itself. People feel it, the world feels it, reality responds to it, and you, finally, begin to live not as someone who's always trying to find balance, but as the very source of balance itself. So let me ask you now, not casually, but as an invitation to your next evolution, what would your life look like if you stopped reacting to energy and started speaking to it with authority, precision, and love? Because that's not just a possibility for you, that's your path, that's your inheritance, and the moment you choose it, the whole field shifts. The chosen one activation, living as the signal the new earth is waiting for. There comes a moment in the life of every quantum empath when the internal knowing becomes too loud to ignore. It's not a shout, it's a hum, a deep, ancient resonance that moves through the bones, the breath, the soul. And in that moment we stop asking for signs, we stop doubting ourselves, we stop waiting for permission to become who we already are. That's the moment of activation, the moment when everything shifts from theory to embodiment, when empathy stops being a burden and becomes a mission, when sensitivity stops being a flaw and becomes a signal. Because we were never meant to just feel. We were meant to lead, quietly, subtly, powerfully, through frequency, not force. Living as a chosen one isn't about superiority, it's about responsibility. It's about recognizing that your sensitivity is not here to isolate you, it's here to initiate you into a deeper level of awareness, of service, of alignment. You were designed to feel because you were designed to heal, not by fixing others, but by remembering yourself. Every time you choose authenticity over performance, You broadcast a frequency that awakens others. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you send out a pulse that destabilizes illusion. And every time you choose presence over distraction, you become a portal, an access point to a new way of being that ripples across timelines. That's how powerful you are. That's how essential your embodiment is to what's unfolding on this planet right now. But here's the truth most avoid. This path requires everything. It asks you to die to the false self again and again, to peel back the layers of programming, expectation, trauma, and societal conditioning until what's left is raw, real, and vibrationally pure. It's not about being perfect, it's about being honest. Can you walk into a room and hold your frequency, even when no one else understands it? Can you continue loving deeply, even when your heart has been shattered? Can you keep choosing your alignment over external validation, even when it costs you comfort, relationships, or the illusion of belonging? These are the questions that shape a chosen one. Not their knowledge, not their aesthetics, but their courage to remain sovereign in a world built on conformity. When you live as the signal, you stop chasing timelines, you start anchoring them. You become the still point in the chaos, the calm in the storm, the clarity in the confusion. You're not here to push against the old system, you're here to out-vibrate it, to live in such a resonant field of coherence that anything not aligned simply falls away. You don't fight darkness with light, you remember the light so deeply the darkness forgets how to hold shape in your presence. That's the quiet revolution, that's the real awakening, not loud, not performative, but undeniably real. And yes, there will be days you doubt it, days you feel disconnected, days you question whether any of it is real. That's part of the path. Even the strongest signals sometimes flicker, but the difference now is you know how to return. You know how to breathe, how to ground, how to listen to the quiet intelligence of your own being. You know how to transmute, how to recalibrate, how to rise from the ashes of your own ego again and again, because you've remembered who you are, not as a role, but as a frequency, a living, breathing, feeling extension of the divine. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. You are not here to fit in. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to broadcast the signal of the new earth through your presence, your choices, your integrity, and your frequency. And every time you do, the grid strengthens, the veil thins, the timelines converge, and the world remembers. Not because you told it to, but because you became the reminder. Now ask yourself with full honesty and no apology, what would your life become if you stopped dimming your signal and started living like the earth has been waiting for you to finally remember why you came? This is your time. You're not just chosen, you're awakened.